Welcome back to Not So Pro Football Talk as we go into the third episode of grading this NFL's team's 2023 season. And today we are doing the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and I'm going to be grading their NFL season for you guys. So we're going to be talking about everything about their past season wins, all of 2023, all the way up to postseason, and what I think their overall grade is. And we'll talk a little bit into what they need to fix in going into next year. All right. So first off, I'm going to go ahead and tell you guys my grade. I gave the Tampa Bay Buccaneers A minus. Now, AJ also gave him an gave them an A minus, and Vincent also gave them a B plus. He did not believe in the Buccaneers like me and AJ did. So let me go ahead and break down why I think the Buccaneers got A minus. So first off, I'm going to go over some player stats as far as the offense. Baker Mayfield, 4,000 yards throwing for 28 touchdowns and 10 interceptions. Did take 40 sacks. That is a lot. But overall, I think nobody expected Baker Mayfield to play that well. That was... Everyone was like, this is a make it break it year for Baker Mayfield, and for him to go out and play that well for this team, very, very impressive. I do believe he's going to earn himself a second contract with the Buccaneers this offseason. We'll have to wait and see where he ends up, but really love that for Baker Mayfield. Now on the rushing side, it was really, as far as rushing, just Rachaad White, who was kind of more disappointing. Still a good season, but I think we all expect a little bit more from him. Rachaad White has 990 yards on the season, 6 touchdowns, 2 fumbles. Not bad stats, but you kind of wanted more from Rachaad White. We'll have to see what he's going to be able to do next season in his third year. But after that, there was really nothing. That was Chase Edmonds, who had 176 yards for 0 touchdowns. Didn't really do a whole lot other than Rachaad White in that backfield. We'd love to see a little bit more of Rachaad White. But in total, as far as like Rachaad White's total stats, he did have 1,400 scrimmage yards because he did have 549 receiving yards. So still pretty good. But as far as rushing, we'd love to see him eclipse that 1,000-yard mark. But he just didn't, unfortunately. But going into receiving, continuing, Rachaad White was the third receiver as far as passing yards on this team. The other two guys, we all know them, Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, both over 1,000 yards. Mike Evans with 1,255 and then 13 touchdowns. Really great season for Mike Evans as usual, always putting up incredible numbers year after year. That is who Mike Evans is. And Chris Godwin had a very more quieter year, only had 2 touchdowns, but 1,024 yards. 130 targets and 83 catches, most on the team. Very, very nice. But the thing that hurts about them is there's no other wide receiver 3 on this team. Next up would be Trey Palmer, who had 39 catches for 385 yards. Not a lot there. Definitely would like to see a third wide receiver on this team. Keep in mind that for a little bit later. Cade Otton had 455 yards. It was really, as far as receiving, just Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, and a little bit dabble in of Rachaad White as far as this passing game. Their defense had a lot of great players like Levante David, we all know who that is, Antoine Winfield, Devon White, etc. There's some, and then Jamal Dean in the corner room. Very, very good players there. We'll go all over the defensive stats right now. But let's break down the offense. Now, this offense, I think we were all surprised by how much they played. We know the playmakers, Mike Evans, Godwin, Rachaad White, as I all just mentioned a little bit ago. But Baker Mayfield surprised the heck out of everybody. Now, overall, this offense, it was very sporadic. It was all over the place. Some games, like their height when they scored 34 against the Packers, and then their lows of scoring like 6 points against the Lions. It was just all over the place, up and down all year. It was not something that was consistent, and you can't say they were going through growing pains, really, because there was never like a growth period, because it was just good, bad, good, bad. There was no consistency as far as the offense, as far as a whole. Now the defense, very good, but also not that great at the same time. Their defense was ranked 5th as far as points per game, which is very good, 7th in touchdowns per game, and top 3 in the red zone, which is all really good. And you're like, Reed, why are you knocking them so bad? Knocking them right now. Well, they finished 28th in opponent pass yards per game. Now, Reed, why are you bringing up the Bucks finishing 20th in pass yards per game? Well, ultimately, that's what knocked them out of the playoffs, and we'll get into that in a second when we talk about playoffs. But that's what did them in, is that passing yards. Overall, I think the defense played well as far as points per game, everything. That's a very, very important stats in my opinion. But this defense, all in all, what I would sum it up is a defense that is a high blitzing defense that goes after the quarterback and didn't get a whole lot of pressures on the quarterback this past year. So they're a little iffy for me too. Now, as far as their playoff, I mean, they made it to the second round, so I'll give them that. I think that's very, very impressive, and that's the reason for my A- is because they exceeded everybody's expectations for going to the second round of the playoffs, and they got beat down by the Lions, but it wasn't a beat down really. But that first game against the Eagles, I know everybody's like and kind of impressed by them, but also I'm not very impressed. I knew the Eagles were going to lose that game. I think anybody could have beat the Eagles at that point in the season. The Eagles were not a very good football team at that point. So the Bucks played well, but I kind of expected it also. There's a lot of teams I think that could have beat the Eagles at that point of the season. All in all, I think the Bucks exceeded expectations across the board. Well, I definitely think Baker Mayfield is going to get signed this offseason with the Buccaneers again, and he's earned himself probably a 3-year contract, maybe 4. If the Bucks really want to commit on him, but I don't think they will. I would expect a 2 to 3 year contract for Baker Mayfield going forward. The big thing this offense is going to lose is going to be Mike Evans. Mike Evans is going to hit free agency unless they franchise tag him, which would be a shocker. Mike Evans will most likely hit free agency and go to a different team, and that is a huge piece that they're going to be missing next year. Mike Evans has been the cornerstone of this offense for the past 10 years. He's been the definition of consistency. Now, yes, they still have Chris Godwin, but Chris Godwin's on the final year of his contract, and at age 29, you have to think about, will they actually resign this guy, unfortunately. So Chris Godwin is out the door the year after this year. So what my biggest thing for the Buccaneers to address is the wide receiver room. As I said earlier, their Nets highest receiver was Trey Palmer. The Nets after that was David Moore, who had 94 yards. There's not a whole lot of wide receiver room or talent behind Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. I think you need to draft a few guys, maybe bring in somebody in free agency probably to help Baker Mayfield, because we do know Baker Mayfield needs a team around him for it to be good. I don't think he's a quarterback that's going to be the difference maker, the X factor. He is somebody who's going to complement the people around him, and that's what he does best, I think. So you got to go after a wide receiver in the draft or in free agency, and you got to rebuild this wide receiver room, because it's going to be everybody's going to be gone after next season, most likely. So that's your biggest thing to go after in the offseason. Also, you want to probably address the offensive line because Baker did get sacked 40 times. So that's my big takeaways for the Bucks this year. A- as far as the grade, surprised everybody, but still a lot to grow in. And I still think they need to become a much better team in order for them to win the NFC South next year. So let me know down in the comments what you guys think of the video and what my analysis of the Buccaneers was. Hit that like button if you guys enjoyed the video, and hit the sub button if you want to stay tuned into this amazing series of grading this team's NFL 2023 season. Thank you guys for tuning in. Till next time, keep on grinding.